Put on my little lip gloss, even though you can't really see it. All right. We are in New Orleans. New Orleans? Nolans?
Yeah.
New Orleans. We're in New
New
Orleans. We are in, what is this park called? How do you pronounce this park?
Audubon
And
Park.
we positive about that, or we just?
I'm confident.
You confident. I like
Confident.
that. I like
Audubon.
that. We are in the park, and we finally got outside fully because it's been raining mostly all day. But we did get to yesterday. We kind of it was raining.
No, not earlier today.
Well, I'm talking about yesterday.
Yeah.
It was raining a good bit. Regardless, it's been raining here. I don't know what rainy season is here. I don't know because it's definitely probably not.
It's just a rain. I don't think it's like
a specific.
This is rainy season or anything.
Yeah.
I think it just happened to be a storm type
spring,
thing. Yeah.
All the things, but it's been raining the whole time, for the most part, on and off. We came here for a work conference.
For work, yeah. Came here for a work conference. Decided to stay the weekend because it happens to align with Juneteenth. So it was like, might as well stay in one of the blackest cities.
Yeah, we extended the trip to Juneteenth. Like you said, we experienced the city a bit, starting with like yesterday, I would say, obviously Juneteenth, starting with Juneteenth. And what did we do? We went to, what was it, Louis Armstrong Park.
Also known as Congo Square.
Also known as, or it's like Congo Square technically is inside it.
Louis Armstrong Park.
So
we something we definitely wanted to see.
Yep, and we'll probably explain more what that is later. But we went to Louis Armstrong Park. It wasn't as like live as like we would have thought, mostly because of the heat.
Yeah, it was like, crazy hot, like sweating as soon as you moved.
Yeah, passing out. People dropping like flies.
Had to buy a $15 fan.
And I'm like, I'm glad we did, because when we went to the museum, those fans was $25.
Yeah.
So he saved money. But we went to the park. What else? We went to the park. It was like food and all those things there, but.
Yeah, and I think because we got to the park a little later than we wanted to because of the rental car fiasco, which, whatever.
But nonetheless, now we're here. We're out. This is formally our last official day.
Full day here, yeah.
Full day. Yep. But yeah, I think one of the biggest things that when we talk about this podcast audio thing that's as of now under Flights and Feelings, but I've been thinking about like whatever, when we extend this into like a full podcast audio, whatever, what are we going to call it? So like, we don't have a name for that yet, but like, let's just call it the pod. I'm just playing. Boys love to be like the pod.
The podcast.
The pod. But let's just this.
Yeah.
I feel like a huge part of these conversations, one is going to be about, of course, our feelings in these places, what we've learned, and not like a historical, educational way and all those things, but in our way. So like a reflection of the place, a reflection of how we're feeling, and just also, like what the people are teaching us and the place is teaching us, and the time in which we're here. And I think today and yesterday, like, of course, it felt symbolic to come here for Juneteenth, one, because it's one of the blackest places in the world. I think I looked it up and it said technically it's like the 9th blackest place in the U.S. not based off population, because of course like New York would beat it, but based off of I think percentages.
Yeah, because I think it's 50% black.
Yeah, so like one of the blackest places in the U.S. And also like generally I feel like New Orleans, generally and culturally you feel like New Orleans feels black. So it's good to be here for that. But then also we went to a lot of the things that we were on our itinerary. We didn't have to do this because it was Juneteenth, because we typically do stuff like this, but a lot of the stuff was like rooted in blackness, rooted in culture. And of course, New Orleans is known for its music, its food.
Right.
So we did a bunch of the food stuff.
Yeah.
But one thing that was on our itinerary that we didn't plan initially, but I looked on Google and found it yesterday, was the Whitney Plantation. Mm-hmm. So for context, when I was looking at this plantation, as you know, I was like, okay, like, I don't want to do no plantation tour because that sounds kind of crazy. So I looked up the owner and I was like, okay, he's a white man. But then I was like, okay, what was his intention behind it? And luckily, his intention was he was a retired attorney, and he was also a real estate investor. And what else did he do? He funded this. He bought back this plantation, the Whitney Plantation, which was a really huge, notable plantation in outside of New Orleans, about 45 minutes out. Mm-hmm. And he used, what was it, like $8 million of his own money to fund and restore this plantation that was huge and huge a part of the culture in terms of the transatlantic slave trade. And he funded it to be a museum that told more of our narrative, or the enslaved folks' narrative of the
it was the first one dedicated toward that.
Exactly.
When he started it back in 2014. So it made it.
Come on, 2014. Come on, numbers. I wouldn't have remembered that part.
More exciting to go and more like, okay.
Yeah.
This is actually interesting. Especially, and then for me, I was telling her about it, but I realized it's just an Indiana thing. Something called Conner Prairie that they make us go to. Indiana, if you was growing up around that time, I think they shut it down.
He was growing up around that time.
Then you know what I'm talking about, but it's like...
They probably have been open for decades too, so it's like...
Yeah, I mean, it was like you get to 5th or 6th grade and then you have to go to this interactive...
That's crazy.
Acting like you escaped. I think I was looking it up too. It's called like Follow the North Star, like acting like you escaped. It's crazy.
No.
But this was a much more, wholesome experience.
Yeah. So,
but I think that with that, I think
what did the experience like we kind of gave context on what the experience was, what the Whitney plantation was. I want you to, one, because you are better at recalling details, I can write the details way better than I'll be able to speak about it. So I definitely want to hand it to you to tell us about what we don't got to get into everything we learned, because obviously we can write a book on it, but tell us a little bit about what that experience felt like, especially because I'll hand it to you after this, but it really did feel immersive, which I was like, oh no, I would give that museum experience I don't know, I guess you would have to give something a 10 out of 10 if you don't have any
reference
points, which is good, but then also I don't have any I couldn't be like, you should do this. No notes.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure there's things that you can do better, but like you said, there's not really anything else like this in America. So
but I think it was really good because it was they give you an audio little recorder because we did a self-guided one, and with that you listening to people talk about it as you're going through it. But I think the thing that they did,
it was very good audio recording too.
Very good audio
very
recording.
Immersive.
It added a lot to
the layers,
what we were looking at. And I think they were able to preserve a lot of the things that were either original to that plantation or like the jail cell that they brought in that came from another plantation but was an original.
Came into.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that made it really real. And I think ultimately being at a place like the big house and being like, oh wow,
and the
the enslaved people
was like the master's house.
Yeah, master's house. Yeah. They call it the big house. And the fact that the enslaved people built it, I think even that small detail is something that we often forget. We talk about all of the labor, obviously, them literally building the economy, but we rarely talk about also the place in which they had to, these people were living in and patronizing them was a place that they built. Literally created the bricks on site, built the whole thing. And I think that them being able to highlight the difference between the difference in the similarity and terror between the people who were staying in the big house or the house servants, as people would call them, or house slaves, versus the people who was out in the field, and how it's it could seem like that was so much of a better life, but at the same time, them being able to call on you 24/7, and then if you're a woman. If you're a woman, what that looks like compared to others, it's there's tears on all different sides.
And they also know the horror of knowing certain things that you can't transfer over to X, Y, and Z. Your friends, or however they would refer to them, or the other co-workers, even if that'd be crazy, but however they referred to the other people that were on the other enslaved folk that were on the plantation, if you knew her child was about to get sold off, imagine the horror of being dang,
trying to go to sleep with that. This is crazy.
And
I ain't gonna be able to even get the message out to the next
the next shift
it's gonna be too late, you know what I mean? So I think all of that, and then for me I'm looking at it this is the interesting thing of we use a ChatGPT at the same time, but we're also trying to understand it. But I think it enhanced it in the sense to where I'm looking at the trees and feeling the trees and being wow, these trees are, some of them, especially the oaks that was similar to these, was 300 years old, so which means they were absolutely there. These are trees that people was wrapped around and getting, So that, for me, that was the thing that I was
is the word flogged? No. People are wrapped around something
potentially. I don't know. Yeah. I was just gonna say it was getting lashes, but
that too. But
ultimately, us being in the place, and I think just slowing down and feeling it was it made all of the things, because I think us being in New Orleans has made all of the history, like you can feel it. There's a certain thickness to the air that just happens to be humidity.
It is.
You know what I mean? It's actually
thick.
humid.
It's actually
But
thick.
after
So that's
that,
probably what it was.
you know what I mean?
I'm like, oh, it's getting
So that
a little tight
definitely
here.
adds. It definitely adds to it. It definitely adds a little. You know what I mean?
I was in there like, oh, y'all getting hot.
Yeah, it makes it hot.
Yeah.
You walking through it. You reading about them laboring. So now you imagining laboring in this type
In this
of heat.
Like I was, and then like
That type
also
of
the
humidity.
weather of it. Like I kind of brought
It's
this up to you
crazy.
when we was there, but I was just like even like hurricanes didn't just start in 2000. It's like they were going through that type of weather
Mm-hmm.
back then.
And like
And
we
they
being
didn't have
blamed for the,
Anything, the
fact
crops
that it
getting
can't
destroyed.
even exactly.
Like they didn't get, and also they didn't get days off. Like that's not a surprise,
Yeah.
but it was just the thought of like, no, how when it was like torrential downpour this morning, and it didn't rain coincidentally until we left, but when it was torrential downpouring, it's not like they was like, oh, y'all can come home.
Right.
It's like, no, y'all stay in the fields. Like,
Exactly.
we can go in there. We
Yeah,
can go in the house.
facts.
But y'all stay in the field and actually also make me some food. Like while y'all at it.
Yeah. And I think learning about the different experiences too, like Marooners was something that I didn't know about
Yeah.
as much.
I've
Like
often
I'd
say,
heard of it before.
I feel like Ta-Nehisi Coates and his
He might have
that
highlighted
book
it before.
in, his nonfiction or his fiction book.
Oh,
I feel like he talked
maybe.
about that word. It was just so thick and it's hard for me to recall. But
Yeah.
I know it was like it was called The Water Dancer. And
Right,
it was
right,
like
right.
part of that book was like people hiding in water.
Right.
When they
So
were like
it's
doing
definitely
whatever.
politely referencing the
Yeah.
Marooners, and it's like seeing, you know what I mean, them reference indigenous people, and like
And then
seeing the tide of Mardi
sinners
Gras,
and like
and
also like
sinners
and
being
understanding
tied to
like
that.
the thought of like, oh, they were talking about the Choctaw people and like knowing like, oh, even if like what's great about like art and again stuff that we can go on and on about all of this, but it's like thought about art. It's like, dang, you can really even if like of course that couldn't have been the direct it could have been perfect in representation in
Yeah.
sinners, but like regardless, I had a visual of what the Choctaw folk look like.
Right, exactly.
Like, and I'm like, oh, this is how they did interact with the black people. And then
Yeah.
when the signs and stuff were telling us, like, no, the Marooners, to your point, would like go off to other plantations or sometimes go off and like not chill with the Choctaw folk, but like go off and like, you know, that's how they knew each other because they were
Exactly.
around each other.
That, and I mean, they were obviously enslaved.
Exactly.
You know, there's like before it even brought black people here, they decided to
Got
enslave
them.
somebody.
Yeah.
So I think all of that was like very interesting. Then like I'm always interested in the stories of resistance that we don't get told about, right?
Right.
So it's like the Germantown, I think it was 1811, the Germantown like revolt, I think it was, they called it. But yeah, where they're getting inspired by what happened in Haiti.
Haiti, yeah.
And the people said, all right, we're about to,
And the thought that
I
they
think-
even heard about that.
exactly. And imagine how long it took, because I
Yeah.
think what the Haiti thing was like 1804, 18, something
Yeah.
along those
or maybe
lines.
even like late 17, but
Something, yeah, maybe, yeah. So like them hearing about that and deciding, okay, we're gonna go
try
and
the
do
same
this,
thing.
knowing
Yeah.
that it's
Rep-
either us or them type of
yeah,
situation.
and like the
And-
repercussions, the strong
and-
repercussions. Of what
exactly.
can happen.
And I think we talked about it, but like somebody like Harriet Tubman, and that being that much more amazing, because it's like when people was doing those things, they was being brought in front of everybody and
Yeah.
being made examples of in a very, very cruel, differentiated type
It's
of
like
way.
way different
So
from
to have
like,
seen and heard stories and generations of things
100%.
of that happening if you do this, and then to keep going back down and bringing more people, it's like a different,
Yeah.
it's like different level of respect, I think.
and
But
it's way different from like what it could look like. Yeah, just like
Yeah.
way different from like what it can look like if like we see the like repercussions from like social media of what can happen. It's like, no, they were literally bring them back to the plantation and cut the, like at the one thing about the 1811 revolution is like once the people once they got the militia or whoever
Yeah, the
to
militia to
whatever,
go.
they cut everybody's head. They cut
Yeah,
what,
they
like
cut
50
everybody
people's
else.
heads
Yeah,
off
it was a
and
lot.
put them on sticks and put them in front of the plantations. Was like, this is what could happen. And this is
Yeah.
all everybody's head that we cut, the people's
Yeah.
head, not sculpture of people's heads.
no,
It was
exactly, this
actually
their
heads.
actual is right
Like
there.
this was the person that they was just I was gonna say
Yeah.
online.
So
with,
loved
but
one
this is-
probably
yeah.
for a lot of them, and I think that was the thing that made it very. And I think even seeing like I like how they highlighted something that was unexpected for me was like I think I pointed out like the story of like the rabbit, the tar baby, and like in the briar patch, that whole thing where I remember my mama telling us that growing up, but I'm thinking.
And why do you think? What context was that? Like what she would tell
My
you?
mom would tell us these like stories that was like bedtime-ish stories. It was like Brother Bear, Brother Rabbit was one of them. This was one of them, like the Tar Baby and the Briar Patch.
Like a quote unquote endearing story that she was telling y'all?
Yeah,
or like
like the whole idea of it is
story?
like I'm forgetting what the antagonist is, and it is it a wolf or something?
I think it was
the fox.
Yeah,
the
they got
fox,
stuck in
right?
the tar or something like
well,
that.
The fox, the rabbit, I think it was telling the fox like the rabbit got caught in the tar or whatever, in the Tar Baby, whatever, and he's from what I remember, he's like. Telling like the fox, like, whatever you do, like, please just don't throw me in the briar patch, is what he's saying, pretty much.
And what is a briar patch?
Briar patch, I don't remember now, but it's like pretty much, he kept saying, whatever you do, don't do that. And then the fox ended up doing it, and that's how the rabbit was able to get loose, because the rabbit knew the only way I can get loose is actually getting into the briar patch. And that's how I get off of the tar. Like, you know what I mean? And it's a story, like, a lot of the stories were like underdog type of stories, or people who were like being oppressed. You know what I mean? Like, it's like the tortoise and the hare
That's
type
what
of stories,
when I was
right?
reading,
all
I
of
was
these are like all of these are different versions of that type of story. Where it's funny, I read another one. They was talking about a story, and it's what inspired Bugs Bunny and Wile E. Coyote. And they were saying it was like, so all of these types of stories, though, growing up, and I'm thinking a lot of times I just think
from like
somebody made it up. Maybe my granddad made it up. Or something.
Dr. Seuss.
But then seeing it on a thing where I'm like, oh, okay, that's actual
historical context. Like,
it
this
makes
is almost
sense.
like a folklore.
These were being passed down, similar to how stories were being passed down from like griots and stuff like that.
Stuff like that, yeah.
So all of that was like, and then obviously we started looking at, we talked about the levees and people being, executed over there, which makes me turn the question back to you, where it's like, through everything we saw, through all the chat GPTs, through all of this, through us riding around, I think Guard District, then going to Lower Ninth and like whatever happened to be, like, how does that make you now view this place, knowing that when we came into New Orleans, we didn't really know, we knew what we saw from the documentaries, but we didn't know this level of history, you know.
How does it make me feel about the place, or like,
how do you view the place? I think is the first question.
I feel like it's such a, and we asked this question to ourselves first, but we asked this question to ChatGPT as well. But like, if it made me question, like, oh, what is the most historic, like, what place? And it's hard to, it's subjective, kinda, I guess. But what place in the U.S. has the deepest, most like rooted history? And it really felt like obviously, I love like Detroit and like Michigan down, but I'm like, that's very new, clearly, because I'm like, that's not a Detroit or Michigan is a very new place. Not very, but relatively. Yeah. But it felt like, oh, this is like a place in America that has the deepest history, other than like, of course I can say this because again, I'm not knowing much about the deep roots of like maybe anything within the Louisiana Purchase. I'm not understanding all of those things, but I'm like, because what I knew about Louisiana was stuff like Louisiana Purchase, whatever, and then also like the Cajun, and didn't even know much about, or didn't technically know about Cajun and Creole culture. Because I didn't understand Cajun was a culture. But understanding that like Creole Cajun culture was also another thing. But then also understanding that music, like like blues music and all that stuff was also another thing. And then obviously now, didn't even know that this was the largest slave port in the U.S. I didn't know that. So it's like now knowing all of that, plus seeing it, experiencing it, not knowing what questions to ask to even find the information, unless I can imagine if we were from here, or if like we had better world history classes, or if we were from here and had like, I'm pretty sure some of their elementary schools have like Louisiana history. I just didn't. Now, when I think about the place, I'm like, oh shoot, this is a place with deep rooted history that really connects to everything, especially as Black people. Like 100%. A place that I'm like, no, all Black people should study it or educate themselves on in their way, because it could be through music, and then like, technically, big timers ain't gonna get you that far, but like question things of like, oh, okay, Lil Boosie was talking about what? Or like, okay, what period was he in? Or like, what is Lil Wayne talking about? Like, okay, this documentary, When the Levees Broke, like, okay, what are they talking about? And then like pulling back, and then to your point, going through the Garden District, which is the district where, it's part of what they say is it's part of the 10th Ward, but it's like where all of the British folk went when they moved here. The new money came in
and was like, we got money too, so we gonna build up.
And those are all it's beautiful architecture, but it's like, oh shoot, that's 15 minutes away from 9th Ward where like Hurricane Katrina messed up. Okay, wait, hold on. How the heck did that happen? And like all of that makes me be like, oh, like, yeah, and then going back to the stuff that we seen today with the Whitney plantation. Oh shoot, this was like treacherous, like that what they did here, and being like, oh wait, all this happens off the backs of black people, or mostly off the backs of indigenous folks, and then off the backs of black people. Regardless, off the back of multi-ethnic people. But then the most beautiful thing out of this place, New Orleans, Louisiana, the South, is the art that the multi-ethnic people created. Yeah. So it's just like, oh,
I mean, we don't have any of our music without this
the
place.
Struggle, the blues. It's like that came from slavery, or like from people that are usually like either you were sharecroppers
to preserve something and to find a small piece of solace or like joy within. I think a situation that we can't even put into our mind how like tragic it is. I think even no matter how great this kind of experience was going into like through the plantation and like really feeling it, it's like it's impossible to actually put ourselves there and see how horrific all of that actually was. So I think that's where, and we'll talk about, how does it make us feel now and like what does it make us kind of want to do? But I think that's
how does it energize us? Because I'm like, or speaking for you, it just feels like I'm like, it does have this certain energy of like, this is the reminder of like, oh wait, if they can do all that, first of all, nothing, but then also if they can create so much out of this, one, what are we responsible for doing? What are we tasked with doing? And then like, why do I ever feel limited? Like, why do I ever feel like, oh, I can't do this? Or why do I ever feel like, yes, it's feelings are real, which is again, why we have this little podcast. But it's like, why do I feel so tired? You're like, no, they was really tired. Like they was trekking 2 miles on their own plantation, not really 2 miles, but to work. And then what they call it, in one of the things they said it was called like, it was basically what they called it for like sun up to sundown, but he said it was called
it was like till can see to can't see.
Yeah, to can't, from can to can't or something like that.
Can't see to can't see or something like that.
Which means from sun up to sundown. They was working that hard. Yeah. It's like, oh shoot, this is like the blood that we have.
Oh, dangerous.
And so I don't know, like you said, I think we should move locations.
Yeah.
I want to talk more about, what it makes us feel, how does this energy feel in the present? Because I'm like I already said, we could talk about this, just the history of it forever.
For a long time,
But for the sake of time, I'm interested to hear about the present. So
we talked about, the history of the place and how we can literally feel it with like the humidity and all of that, but
the weight of it.
The weight of it. I'm curious, what does that make you feel like in the present moment?
Yeah, it's a turtle, but
it's one right here too. Two of them.
At first I was gonna say it's an alligator. Crazy.
No, I was watching. Yeah. They face would be higher up.
Yeah, face and tail. But to answer your question, like when I think about the history of a place, specifically any history that has to do with like Black folk or African American folks, to be specific. When I think about all of that, I don't know, to your point, it gives me a different type of like energy and like purpose almost, or like it deepens like my sense of like responsibility in a way that's like, I think about like the Adinkra symbol, like Sankofa, like which means like something like to look back, or look back to look forward, or you have to look back to look forward, or something. I know I'm probably saying it wrong, but once I learned about that in college, like I couldn't really unsee it, because I've always had like a deep passion and interest in like documentaries and like history and all of that. But again, specific to like all things, but like really a deep interest in like Black history. And so when I think about, like, to your point, like, one, even before we went to, like, the plantation, even just understanding a little bit of the history of, even the present history of, like, the economic disparities in Louisiana, or that was, like, prevalent in, like, Louisiana via all the ducks, via Hurricane Katrina, like, all the social implications that happened with that, music, Lil Boosie, Juvenile, like all those things, like, and understanding where these people come from and all those things, like, and understanding like what place their their art, their music, it comes from. Like a lot of times it comes from like their struggle, and like, okay, their struggle typically connects to a bigger purpose. And so for me, like, I feel like it's just that, like when I think about how I feel now after experiencing all of those things and stuff, it's feelings that you always hope will stay, but
Right.
they never really do, which is why you always got to remind yourself and like in ways, in whatever ways. But when I think about and, reflecting on all the things that we've like felt and experienced here, it's just like, oh, I know I want to do something that makes a dent or like connects to the bigger picture of things, like to our point, even like, of course, I don't know if I'm interested in politics, but I'm like, when you think about like, when we were at the plantation, I forgot what the woman's name, her name was like Sybil or something, Sybeil. Like she was like the great granddaughter of like a former slave or something there, enslaved person at the plantation, and she went off to be like the wife of like one of the first black mayors,
Oh,
that
yeah,
woman.
yeah.
And she had like the book I picked up, it was called like Witness to Change, and then she ended up being like, politically active, of course, and like a women's rights advocate and stuff. It's like, no, like you have to like yes, sometimes everybody's not suited for something, or like everybody's suited for a different thing rather.
Right.
It's like, no, but you have to do something that like, even if it's not very political or very educational, or you ain't got to be Henry Louis Gates, or you ain't got to be Martin Luther King or nothing like that. You ain't got to be Juvenile, like you don't got to be Lil Boosie, you don't got to be Lil Wayne, you don't got to be whatever filmmakers came out of these places, but just to do something that's like matters and shift things forward for people, for humankind, and not just black folks or just indigenous folks, but like rising up those people that typically, the saying is like, if you lift up the lowest of the low, everybody lifts up.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I think that's what I feel. And of course, all of that connects to like, somehow it connects to art always. It connects to business, especially like economics, because I'm like, it has to connect to business because or has to connect to business, yeah, because I think about economics so much, especially when you see, again, why Hurricane Katrina was so devastating is because they didn't care about this black place, regardless, this black section of Louisiana or New Orleans, but then also because they didn't have economic or political power enough to like do things. And then like, even when, how the stat was, or the fun fact about it was that like it was like we had like one of the highest amounts of homeowners in that part of New Orleans in the US or something like that. Granted, their property values were not as grand as maybe somewhere in like the DMV or something like that, but they still owned their homes, and then the homes weren't theirs no more once they got swept away. And it's like, I don't know, when you think about economic power, it's just like, oh no, it's super important to have that. And so, yeah, like I think about what I need to do, what I want to do, and like how little stuff just don't matter. Like a lot of the things that I was thinking about when we were there too was just like the modern day slavery of it all. Like I kept bringing up to you like, dang, like, okay, this sounds like Amazon, or like how the thought of like, one, not only just being a sharecropper in general, how that worked, of like, how that was them having a way to
With the store.
continue slavery by another name, by being like, oh, you work all day and then you have to pay us back. And it's like, oh, that's literally what Amazon does. And that's also, even if, there's not just black people working at Amazon, there's white people working at Amazon. And then when we go on to watch videos about oligarchies and stuff like that, it's like, oh shoot, like this all connects. And it's like, it all has its roots in like economics, and like, why did they have slaves anyways? Because it was of economic value. And when it wasn't, that's when they moved on and was like, hey, we use the cotton gin. Like, we don't need y'all no more, but we still want to own y'all because we got power. And it's like, oh, okay, so economics makes, like,
It's always been economics. And that is where you got, obviously, I think that's a whole nother conversation about, I think they articulated it well within the pyramid thing on the oligarchy video, right? It's like, keep you focused on the lateral so you don't ever focus on the vertical issues, the things that, the top are opposing, or the opposing thoughts between the top and the bottom, which are the actual important things, at least today, and kind of always have been, right? In a sense. And I think in a place like this, it comes alive even more when you know that there was Irish people, there was, Italian people that came in, German people, all of these people who came in
French,
not having as much, right? French, right? And then of course black people and indigenous people, and the whole, it's haves and have-nots, and kind of always has been. But I think to your point, that for me, the thing that like stuck in my mind is the when we went and saw, was at the Whitney plantation, we saw the it was like the memorial of all the kids that died.
And in the church?
No. Like it was
Oh,
like the
like the
outside,
names.
and it was the names of
Yeah.
all the kids who died before like 10, before they turned like 10
12
or
or
so, or
something.
12 or
Yeah.
something like that.
And it was like
It was
so many.
hundreds of kids, and it was just like that's happened. That was happening everywhere, and for me,
That was just at that plantation.
that was just at that plantation
In this period of time.
in a small period of time. So imagine how that was happening everywhere, especially at sugar plantations. How
and how much potential that was
so
killed
my thing
off.
exactly.
Yeah.
So for
Or
me,
it
the
was
sense of
killed off.
urgency comes from that because it's like that was a very real likelihood. Like we talk a lot about statistics and beating the odds and all of that, and it's like the idea that our ancestors were able to exist long enough for
Us to be birthed.
survive long enough, and all of this, and a lot of it was
And
chance.
then the next generation, like there's like we not only had to survive one generation, you had to survive every
Continuous
generation until now.
generations. Yeah, exactly. So it's like and survive something that was like that, and then survive the
The next
because we're
version of
children of
it.
the Great Migration. It's like then you survive that journey, and then
That.
the continued kind of economic distress happened there. So it made me sit and think. I think for a long time I've always been like, oh, okay, boom, I gotta like establish or put my family in a position that we haven't been in, to be
you
able to
just
do all
gotta-
of these things. And I
yeah.
think to your point, it's really just about making it count.
Yeah,
Generally,
making a move.
because a lot of things had to fall in place for us to even be here. You know what I mean? And that's meaning exists. That also means being able to be in a position to where we can have a weekend in New Orleans and head back to New York after this. Like all of these things, so many things had to happen for us to be able to be here. And the bottom line thing that had to happen was our ancestors had to survive and had to continue to believe. I know. I hope
pretty
that the
bird.
video caught that. That was fire.
They about to catch a cute little fish.
I hope they don't try to grab one of them turtles' heads. They keep popping up. But yeah, all of that to say, it's for me, it is like, okay, how can we make sure that we make it count? You do something that actually matters, right? To your point, you actually change the fabric of life for
Others outside of
for
yourself.
folks outside yourself, and at the minimum for the people who are in community with you. And I think a lot of times we look at it in an all or nothing way of like every action is either impacting the world
Yeah.
or it's
I'm
only
either gonna be a
impacting me,
billionaire. I'm just playing.
or I'm gonna be broke
I'm gonna
forever.
be broke.
And it's like you do that in
I'm
so
either
many
gonna do this,
aspects.
or my family gonna be die broke.
In
My whole
reality, it don't
lineage.
have to be that way. In reality, not only does it not have to be that way, it's not that way. It just isn't. Like anybody who's been able to impact the world started off impacting people smaller than the
Within
world
yeah.
initially. You know what I mean? You empower a community,
households and, like, their
a city, a
church.
state,
It's like
a
Martin Luther
country.
King, yeah.
Exactly.
Everybody.
So I think
People
I
always
mean,
reference Martin Luther King. That's funny.
yeah, I mean, he was that impactful.
Right, but it's always funny that
it's
it'd be
also
like,
the media.
think about Martin Luther King.
Yeah, there's so many people. There's so many people who've done so many things. But shout out to Martin Luther King.
The gang.
Facts, Martin Luther the King. And yeah, I think we'll talk about legacy and what this means going forward. I think. Right?
Yeah, because I'm like, I don't know, like it definitely feels like we already touched on it a bit, but
Yeah.
yeah, like I
Or we just talk
definitely
about. I think there's because hopefully tonight we'll be able to experience some level of
the music.
and
we will.
stuff
We'll
like
be
that.
up.
Yeah, exactly. So then
we'll
we'll be
be
able to
raining,
touch on those
hopefully.
things because I already have started to feel, inspired musically, but also think just from an art standpoint generally, when you're in a place that's this black and has this much history and a lot of stuff existed here so that it can exist, elsewhere.
Yeah,
So,
that's good. Okay, so what next? What are you looking forward to next? How are you gonna change the world? Your little dent of the world.
yeah. Part of me says I don't know.
I mean,
And then,
no one knows.
yeah, I think what I'm inspired to do, I'll say, is like, I think it's more what I've been doing, but it's like leaning in more. Because for me, I think a lot of my conflict when it comes to creating is that I have these strong urges toward what I feel like I need to create and what I need to stay true to. But then there's this idea of commerce that like conflicts it often. And I feel like being here, and I think some of it is remembering what started here musically, right? Jazz, which led to all of the other things, right? Blues, right? I think also knowing the stories of like Cash Money and No Limit and all of the independent stuff that's come from here, Currency, like all of the independent.
Currency is who? I know
A
it's not
rapper.
murder,
Yeah, rapper. But he's was signed at some point, but has made the most inspirational part of it was his independent journey post
Is he still
leaving
alive?
Cash Money. Yeah, he's a rapper now. But all of those things is just like, it's like a version of Enterprise coming out of this same place, this one city. And it felt like they didn't necessarily have to be anything other than what they was.
Yeah.
So for me, I think that's where my mind goes, and it's the things that I just feel like deeply, not second guessing them as much as really where my mind goes. So it's like when it comes to writing and like, you know, from a screenwriting standpoint, when it comes to, you know, anything that like I really want to do and the stories I actually want to tell, being able to lean into them and actually like do them without having all of the noise that can come, especially in a place like New York when it's like you're seeing so many things, you know.
Yeah, it's so much New York. I like that though, because I'm like, it is a reminder, like on top of, like you said, it's the music that or like what this place is birthed through its people that reminds you of that, but then especially like what our people's stories, previously enslaved people and stuff, their stories with that birth in terms of resourcefulness.
Exactly.
Like make something, I mean that's resourcefulness, but make light out of darkness. What else? Like the resilience, but like, and people be like, I don't like that word, we don't want to be resilient. I was like, no, I want to be resilient.
Yeah, exactly.
And like they're incredibly resilient, and like the thought of like, yeah, no, like if they went through all that so we can do whatever we want, like there's not much stopping us. No Limit soldiers. But it's like there's literally not much stopping us, because like we have the direct proof. And I think again that's why it's important to do the whole like Sankofa thing, and like also recognize your history and all those things before. And people, you know, love to say don't look back, just keep going forward. It's like, no, you have to look back, because like the thought of like, and even like I'm gonna have to say this because it's like, oh, I still can't get it through my head, which I know most people can't get it through their head, but it's like, no, it's literally like they literally had people stopping them. Things, and when we was talking about yesterday, like women outside of black folks, like women had things stopping them up until very, very, very most recently. Black people still do, but like women had to have a man, like to start a bank or start a bank account. It's like we have nothing stopping us, only ourselves, in terms of like, oh, if we wanted to make this film, if you wanted to make another album, if you wanted to make this business and just try it, like name one thing that's technically stopping you other than being like, oh, I need $10 million to get our first hero product. Like, yeah, but it's like, does that really stop you? Technically, no, because you can make a different product, or you can start with the minimum viable product that's not going to cost that much. Or the album, you know, we can use this camera instead of like Ari Red camera. Like, you know,
today
like nothing
stop
stops
you
us.
creatively, at least except for us. I think that's part of it for sure. And I think it's also like I think obviously we talked about like, you know, seeing people in captivity and all of that, but I think this, like New Orleans has also given me an interesting perspective on freedom. And I think some of it is like seeing, oh, they had like a third, I wouldn't call it, maybe it's a racial class or social class of like free people of color, which was really interesting in the sense of like, hey, they had this long-standing like history of people who weren't in captivity that look like us, you know. And then the idea of, even when you look at the music and you look at bounce culture and the fact that all of the house stuff, I think the dude was saying it at the Juneteenth thing, right? It's like house and all of these things was able to be birthed from, you know,
all of that,
the culture here, and it is about movement, right? And we was talking about like, oh, okay, you listen to some of the music, if you really start listening to New Orleans music, you're like, hey, they a little, you know,
a little freaky,
a little bit, but it's like at the end of the day, they have a different relationship with the idea of your body and movement and what music is meant to make you do,
freedom.
And then the connection to the Caribbean right there, where we know, and we're gonna see, especially when we go to Jamaica. I think,
and then also
more,
the connection to like, if we think about what, to your point, like, and we don't have enough time even to get into that point, but it's like even the thought of like what slaves or enslaved people would do, or like that was their only form of like joy. They took away drums because that was a form of resistance.
Exactly.
And so it's like, and dance was like prohibited, and it's like, no, that's like still to this day, the connection of like, that's freedom, that's liberation for us. And so it's like, oh, or like how we were talking about like writing, reading, all those things were things we could not do.
Yeah,
so we got to do a lot
resistance.
of it now
Yeah,
because we
exactly.
can do it. So like, why is it
freely.
today
And
that
I think that's
we
the
decide
thing.
not to dance, or
Yeah.
we decide not to read, or decide not to write?
And I
Like
think
it doesn't
that
make sense.
where we're at a lot of times, or at least what I see, is that I actually think now more than ever we're choosing to do the things. I don't know if we're choosing to do them freely. That's the thing. I think there's so many confines we place on ourselves, and then we also are allowing the world to place on us when it comes to writing, when it comes to what we read, when it comes to what I mean, there's literally books as dance, so it's literally confines placed on what you can read. And the same thing, like, even if you think of like dancing now, and I know people make jokes about it all the time, but it's like, you look at a 1970s video, 1980s video, and you
It's
keep
like how we
going further
dance,
and further, or further and further, and you look at like parties and the way in which people dance. It's like literally that it's all started to become more and more confined, and it's because like
people still do drugs.
we have it's the illusion. I mean, in fact, and it's like the illusion of like access to these things,
and it's the
and
what,
freedom to do it, but
it's
not
the
putting a box around it.
Right, and it's to your point, it's the enslavement of the mind now only, because it's like, oh, no, people are choosing nowadays, especially to lean into this physical media, read whatever, and go out and dance, and Tyler, the Creator, made an album about dancing and all those things, but we're choosing, when people say I'm got to read, we're reading New York Times bestsellers, we're reading the things that people are talking about on TikTok. We're not choosing to be like, let's go in a bookstore and let me read about what maybe one, like to your point, let me look. Huh?
I
didn't finish the book.
I know what I'm saying. No, I'm saying that to say like that was going into a bookstore, reading the back of a book, and being like, let me read this.
It's like it wasn't like, oh, I'm supposed to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. Don't you think if somebody's telling you we should read these books so much, it's probably not a book that people that's opposing to like the higher powers? It's like, yeah, they don't want you to read Fire Next Time. Like, it's a popular book in the Black community now, but it's like they didn't want you to read that. Pick that book up. Or like they want you to feel secluded and uncomfortable in your body.
Yeah.
That's why we're not dancing in the club.
Yeah. And alone at the end of the day. I mean, I think this is also a thing that's come to me. Where it's like, it's like, and you know, it's been talking about, that's been something that's top of mind for me a lot anyway, but like, I think there's, you know, it's the whole like divide and conquer thing where you know, people, they actually want us to be alone and feel alone, even when you're in community. I think today, and some of it we can point to COVID, that to your point, it's a much longer video if we talk about the idea of loneliness, even when you're amongst people. But it's like being able to really sit down and look at it. It's like, okay, we do have freedom to be in community with people and to actually build a community and do it in whatever way we think. But we gotta get out of our own heads and
do it.
You know, have the idea that there is no box to do it in the first place. You know what I'm saying? So,
yes, I know what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, I think this is great. Yeah, I think this is great. I'm ready to, again, we don't know what this thing is called. We don't know what it'll turn into, but I like the conversations we're having. I like having them with you. I think we'll like having them with other people. I think they can all be 5 hours long, so. But we ain't got enough SD card space, so, or battery life. But yeah, I think this one will probably be more about past, present, and future. That's kind of what I took for it from it.
Past, present, future.
Yeah.
New Orleans.
New Orleans.